All right, it is indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for this Tackle edition, being the 15th of February 2023, tarehe 15 mwezi wa pili mwaka 2022. Natumai kwamba uko salama na siku yako imeanza vizuri. It's another morning. It's the 15th of February 2023, tarehe 15 mwezi wa pili mwaka 2023. Naona kuna watu wameweza kuamka mapema. Hii story ya airtime. Nambari moja ni Mosi Icon, number 1 Mosi Icon. Good morning to you. Nikitaja jina lako unatuma nambari yako kwenye inbox, alafu utaweza kusaidika. Mosi Icon, good morning. Number 1 Kipkoech Ria. Number 2 Babake Willy. Number 3 Wycliffe Mokoro. Number 4 Kipkoech Ruta. Number 5 Echaita. Number 6 Sebastian Barasa. Number 7 na mwingine He Omandi. Number 8 Mosinho Nanchera Del Monte. Number 9 Kipkoech Ruta. Number 10. Haya, those are the first 10. Number 1 Mosi Icon. Number 2 Kipkoech Ria. Good morning. Babake Willy. Number 3 Number 4 Wycliffe Mokoro. Kipkoech Ruta. Number ngapi? Mosi Icon number 1, Kipkoech Ria. Number 2 Babake Willy. Number 3 Wycliffe Mokoro. Number 4 Kipkoech Ruta. Number 5 Echaita. Number 6 Sebastian Barasa. Number 7 Kipkoech Ria. Number 8 He Omondi. Number Amandi. Number 9 Mosinto Nanchera. Number 10. Haya, tuma nambari yako upesi. Kama nimetaja jina lako, tafadhali tuma nambari yako. That is number 1. Hiyo ni Mosi Icon. Number 2 Kipkoech Ria. Number 3 Babake Willy. Number 4 Wycliffe Mokoro. Number 6 Kipkoech Ruta. Number 7 Echaita. Number 8 Sebastian Barasa. Number 9 Kipkoech Ria. Number 10. Kwa nimepiga hesabu gani? Mosi Icon number 1, Kipkoech Ria. Number 2 Babake Willy. Number 3 Wycliffe Mokoro. Number 4 Kipkoech Ruta. Number 5 Echaita. Number 6 Sebastian Barasa. Number 7 Kipkoech Ria. Number 8 He Amandi. Number 9 Mosinto Nanchera. Number 10. Haya, good morning. It's indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please, when you join in, when you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is a Tackle, the Siasa Wednesday edition of the 15th of February 2023. And we begins right now. Tuko na Isaac Mwaura ambaye yuko njiani hajafika, na pia tuko na Bichachi who's been with us this first time on the Tackle this morning on watu wa serikali iliyopita. Watatuambia nini, kulienda vipi, and what is going on at the moment, as we also look at the current affairs of the day. Jana tulikuwa maombi pale Nyayo, wala watu ambao tunapenda Mungu, truthful men. We are Nyayo Stadium, we are praying for the country, for the drought and the state of the economy. Sijui ulikuwa wapi jana, ulienda Valentine ama ulikuwa Nyayo Stadium ukiombea serikali na nchi? Haya, again, good morning to you. Mosino Chera, good morning. I hope you're doing well. Peter Omari, good morning. Victor Kenyete, good morning. Sui Wakim, good morning. Solomon Kambi, thanks tuned in from Lanet. Let me know where you're watching us from this morning. Please, when you join in, let us know where you're watching us from this morning. Douglas Karuma asema yuko ndani, asante sana. Marasi Nyakero tuned in, asante Brand Letin, good morning. Elkana Tish, good morning. Amondi, good morning. Tuma nambari yako Victor Bet ndani kabisa, asante. Again, good morning. Walter Kipkorir, good morning. Haldrin Lanes, good morning. Abdile Homar, good morning. Abdul, umechelewa sana. Wewe usijui kwa namba ngapi. Geldoret Maya, good morning. Ilari Kiprotich Kosgei, good morning. Kipkoech Ruta, good morning. Hope you doing well. Kennedy Momo, good morning. Blessed Alice, good morning. Festus Kiptano Ikeme, good morning. Artist MC Abraham, good morning. Eldoret Mayor, good morning. Hope you doing well. Osh Alele, good morning. Masi Chela, good morning from Eldoret. Asante sana. Cheriat Gorir anasema iko ndani, asante sana. Godi Sang Nicole live bro kutoka Kitengela, asante. Ben Key, good morning GB and the Tackle, good morning to you sir. Marion Eva Chela, good to see you Marion, happy new year. Signa Sharon, good morning to you Signa, good to see you this morning. Kiptoki Victor, good morning. Good morning Mudosi, good morning to you. Kabon Sara niko kabisa, asante sana Kabon, thank you so much, good to see you this morning Kabon Sara. Mutoka Michael Wenga yuko ndani, Echaita number 6, asante. Kipkuru Jingana, good morning to Tackle, good morning to you. Vincent Keno tuko ndani, ndiko asante. Collins Kimtai Kipsat, good morning. Wycliffe Mokoro, good morning. Julius Bitok, good morning to you sir, hope you doing well. Sama tuko ndani kabisa. Sylvester Goddard, good morning, hope you doing well. Echaita number 2, tuma inbox. Echaita tuma nambari yako kwenye inbox ama kwenye comment section hapo, mtu ataweza kuichukua. Dennis Crew, nimepata yangu, thanks. Takola asante sana. Then is Betwell Black at bed, good morning. Ben Kidla Shah, good morning. Philly Craft, good morning. Collins Kimtai Kipsat, say hi to Mwaura and Bichachi, asante sana. Pega sema Eldoret Chepkanga, massive listening in, asante sana. Nick Fish, good morning Bitok, good morning to you my brother, I hope you're doing well. Julius Bitok, morning to you, watching you from Kapsabet. Karoki wa Mugo, good morning to you sir. Betwell Kiblagat Bed, good morning. Gerald Bitok tuned in from Nandi County. Watu wa Nandi County, mambo vipi? Collins Mwaura, good morning, I hope you're doing well. Is it Collins Mwaura? No, Collins Kimtai Kipsad Weben constituency, asante sana. Solomon Kiambi, good morning. AK Ngeti, good morning. Steven Makangai anasema naweza pata Ruta alikula pesa. Jameni. Mapema ndio best. Alright. Kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi basi na kuja kuona mambo vipi hapa na pale. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. We thank you for this new day. We even thank you for this conversation. We thank you for every tackler that is joining this morning. May you meet them at their point of individual needs. And even as we have this conversation, may it edify the fabric of this country. For you pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Asante. Evans Kiblagat, good morning. Signa, anasema interestingly, my day starts with a prayer and then a tackle. Wow. Signa. Asante, barikiwa sana Signa. Jane Mumbi, good morning. God bless. Good morning to you. Jane Mumbi, good to see you. Happy New Year. Safaris by Jane Richard Sarati, Figa Tukorada, asante sana. Vincent Keina watching live from Wasingishu, Tarbo, pick up Gerald Bitok, asante sana ndugu yangu. Evans Kiblagat Moya, sama Chamge from Eldoret, Kenya, Chamge, Kimngeno Milgo pamoja. Asante Chirona Roti, tuned in from Thika, asante. Mosindo sama watching you live from Kisii County, Prince Walter, morning chairman, say hi to Vincent Lagat, asante sana. Kevin Kipla, good morning. I'm tackling from Juakali, Kapkong, asante. Salimia watu wa Kapkong. Mambo vipi? Tembea hapo Kapkong, hapo Paul Boyd. Salimiana hapo, tembea kidogo, salimia walimu hapo. Mojiji tuned in from Boito, Bomet County. Watu wa Bomet County, mambo vipi? Teacher Okogo logged in Rohaya, umechelewa. Kipkosgei Domi, good morning, watching from Eldoret, Kapsoya. Haya, tuanze na magazeti. I think we start off with the newspapers this morning. Let's look at how the newspapers are looking like this morning. Tuangalie magazeti zinasema nini asubuhi ya leo. Also, meanwhile, please let us know where you're watching us from. When you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. When you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Looking into the Standard, shock of grade 7 learners now being enrolled for KCP. My guy. Okay. Shock of grade 7 learners now being enrolled for KCP. All right, I'll need to look for Waziri Mashogo next week. We need to have a conversation on the state of education and what exactly is going on there. Because, the trouble in Raila's ODM, party discipline, opposition leader Raila Odinga faces a litmus test in stemming rebellion and restoring order and political restlessness, triggered by MP's visit to State House, and which now threatens to derail the nearly 2-decade-old party and weaken its influence across the country. Now, Raila Odinga yesterday said, yes, the ODM governors or the Azimio governors are free to work with the president, but he said, I don't recognize him. I don't recognize William Ruto as the president. That's what he said yesterday. But he said the governors are free to work. Even Kalonzo Musyoka said, yes, the governors can work with the government. ODM is a resilient movement that has withstood the test of time. Differences in opinion do not necessarily imply their cracks, that is Raila Odinga. A Standard turns on the charm on Valentine's Day. The anguish of slain GSU officers' family. Unga subsidy may haunt Uru's men. Haya, President Ruto's prayer for Kenya. Hapa kuna picha ya Uru, Rigiji, Mama Dokas, Mama Rachel Ruto as well praying for the country. Also tell us what you guys think about that. The Standard as well, the other edition of the Standard, Murathe Kioni ejection sealed. Okay, the office has taken note of the contents of submissions and the resolutions. The meeting was properly convened as per the party constitution. That is Han from ORPP, Register of Political Parties. Registrar verdict by upholding last week's Jubilee National Executive Committee meeting. The Registrar of Political Parties effectively sealed the fate of former Ndaragwa MP Jeremiah Kioni and ex-Katanga MP David Murathe, who were suspended as Secretary General and Vice Chairman respectively. Remember, Jeremiah Kioni was kicked out and also Murathe were kicked out last week actually, and the ORPP has upheld the ejection of the two. Prelude's prayer for Kenya, right there. Looking at the People Daily, TSC to promote 36,000 teachers. Education Boost Commission needs 2 billion to move beneficiaries a grade higher in race to improve teaching in grade 7. Several rally funds have reason to worry over Kenya's WRC status. Sharenting wins parents' social media likes, but it's too risky for children. Those who like sharing their children, posting their children on social media. That's it for you. North put under 30-day curfew in wound bandits. Gatherings prohibited as security operation ramped up following killing of police officers. Mambo ya the North upon terms of banditry. Okay. On the Star, Uhuru on the verge of losing Jubilee to Ruto. It would be sweet victory for President, one of the brains behind the once vibrant party. That's on page 4 to 5. Not so rosy as cops prepare to face bandits. Okay. State splurges over shillings 1 billion on new fleet of vehicles. Allah. Okay. Lawmakers poke holes in teachers' medical cover. Deviant ODM rebels plan to meet up Gachagua today. Okay. ODM wamesema wanataka kwenda tena kwa Rigiji. Okay, that's it on the newspapers this morning. On the People Daily. So the newspapers this morning. Let's see what else is in. That's it. Good morning. Enes Lagasaba Jogoro represented. Asante sana. My brother, Mark Bichachi, do you have anything to comment on the newspaper headlines?
Well, it seems the more things change, the more they stay the same in this particular regime. It is about prayers. It's about getting new, new coalition partners even after the government has been formed. That's what it is. It seems we are in the place for handshakes with every opposition MP and in the place of prayers with God. That's where we are.
And what is the problem with handshakes then?
I did not say there's a problem with it. I just said where we are. I'm describing the weather. I'm saying this weather is sunny with a chance of some clouds. You see, there's nothing inherently wrong with making friends. There's nothing inherently wrong, again, with prayers. The issue is that the combination of these handshakes and these prayers, what is it going to bring out for the people of Kenya? That's the key question. If it brings out cheaper unga, cheaper electricity, a better tax regime, then it's a good thing. But if taxes are increasing every day and unga is expensive and the cost of living is going high, then it's a bad thing. So for me, as they say, the proof is of the pudding is in the eating. And right now, what I'm eating is very expensive. So,
but generally, then, what is the state of the nation? Where you sit? How do you feel? What's the feel of the nation?
I think Kenya is on tenterhooks, and it's on tenterhooks because, one, of the cost of living, but two, because they don't seem to have a sense of clarity from government that will address their pain issues. So, for example, there's been a lot of talk about increasing of taxes. Now, the increase of taxes does not speak to the price of unga. In fact, it's making that unga more unattainable. It does not speak to the price of electricity and fuel and things like that, because then it makes it more expensive. So Kenyans are looking for clarity. They're looking for answers to explain how the prayers, the taxes, and everything else are actually going to better the life of the Kenyan. So that's why we are on tenterhooks. So we are waiting to see the prayers of yesterday, how they are going to change the price of unga. You know, that's really where the rubber meets the road.
Okay. All right. So, in short, you're saying the state is not in a very good place.
I'm simply saying that if the price of unga got better, the state would be in a better place.
Okay. Yeah. But what is our obsession with unga, though? Because every other regime has been trying to fix unga. Why nini unga iko na nini? We can't fix other things. The only thing that we want to fix as a country is unga.
2/3 of what we eat is unga.
Okay.
And there are three in the hierarchy of needs. There are three most basic needs: food, shelter, and clothing. Okay. And if the price of food is high, you'll be reminded of the Arab Spring. It was because of the price of bread, right? Because bread is their ugali up there in the north. So at the end of the day, if you want to know how a country is doing, it first has to address food, then it has to address energy, then it has to address infrastructure in that order. Yeah.
Okay. And unga remains elusive. Even on the papers this morning, there is a story that Uhuru's men might be haunted by the unga subsidy. Unga, it's even haunting a retired president. Unga. Kenyans, I don't know what it is that what the obsession that we have as a country with unga. And then, but again, the problem is, my friend Mark, should we not be speaking then about production? If that is the case, should we be speaking about subsidizing the price of unga, not the production of unga?
You see, at the end of the day, we need to understand how agriculture is done the world over. The United States, the richest country in the world, subsidizes the farmer. It gives price guarantees. India, which is one of the most populous countries, recently 2 years ago was having demonstrations of farmers. Why? Because of price guarantees. You look at France. France has a huge reservoir of butter and yogurt and things like that. Why? Because the dairy farmers produce and the government will buy whether there's demand of it or not. At the end of the day, agriculture is one of those things that offers something that is called security to the country. That's why we call it food security. In other words, if Uganda and Tanzania stopped giving us food, it doesn't matter how big our army is, our army will starve. So at the end of the day, every government that comes into play, and you're correct to say that the Uhuru government had the same issue, that you need to ensure that the basic needs of your population are met. And the only way to do that is to make sure the farmer keeps farming and the person buying whatever the farmer has produced can buy it at an affordable rate. That is the hard mathematics that has to be done, and there's no other way around it.
Okay. All right. Isaac Mwaura, good morning.
Good morning, Gerald.
Unalala sana mdosi.
Sasa jamu imejaa sana.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic in Nairobi this morning. I don't know what's going on, but it's good to see you. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh,
we've not met this year?
We've not met this year.
Amazing.
We've not met here. We've met elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've not been to this place, actually.
You've not been to this place?
This is a different place.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Karibu.
Asante sana.
Mambo vipi?
Niko salama kabisa.
Ulikuwa umesafiri kidogo, niliona ulikuwa nje za Afrika.
Nilikuwa nimetembea. Kaenda Ethiopia, nikaenda Dar es Salaam.
Okay.
Sasa nimerudi.
Okay. Karibu. All right, we're just looking at the headlines this morning and also the state of the nation. The things that are coming out strongly, of course, is the state of the economy and the state of food security and also banditry in the corner of the rift. The government declared a joint operation to flush out or to disarm bandits in that side of the rift. And also they have declared a curfew, 30-day curfew. Dawn, or is it dusk to dawn? Curfew. And also yesterday we had prayers in place of Valentine's Day to pray for the country, to pray for the drought and to pray for Shakura and the economy. What is the state of the nation, in your opinion?
I think we inherited a very dilapidated economy, Gerald.
Your camera is just right out of you, please.
Yeah, we inherited a dilapidated economy. And so therefore, it is very important that we have an opportunity to revive the economy, really. And people are, I was somewhere yesterday and I asked, it was an outlet, and I asked people, how comes there are not so many people? And then he said, the person told me, it's January, after paying school fees, people have actually fastened their belts. They have tightened their belts, I think that's the right way to put it. So people don't have money in their pockets. Yeah, so it's really a difficult moment for many families. They are struggling. Fees have gone very, very high, and so therefore that is the challenge that we are having going forward. That we need to really make sure that when people are more generous, it's because they have some surplus to give. Usually, most of the time. And I was looking at some statistics during COVID times. The global giving, statistics changed actually from the West to the most giving country that time was Indonesia, followed by Kenya. Can you imagine? So yes, so people may want to give, people may want to help, but then the situation is not. People are in dire straits. I think many businesses, it's now that they are getting to feel the real effect of COVID-19 and the election, that whole compounding effect. And so many people are really struggling. Yeah, so people are just basically scraping through. Yeah.
Okay, but the question is, for how long is the government or the government operatives and the technocrats, for how long are they going to use the phrase, we inherited a dilapidated economy? For how long is that? Because even on the papers this morning, there is a story that 4 billion has already been spent by government to buy new vehicles. For how long are we going to hear that narrative of we inherited a dilapidated economy? Is there no other plan around apart from blaming the previous government?
No, I think spending 4 billion to buy new vehicles does not necessarily mean that the economy is doing well. It doesn't mean also that there is a misallocation of resources. Do you know why? Because by the end of the day, vehicles are depreciating goods. I mean, like, it's not something that, I mean, the vehicle you had that may have been used 4 years ago, really today is just a wreck.
But it is the government buying. It's the government spending money, and you're saying the government doesn't have money.
No. You see, when you say government does not have enough money, it doesn't mean it doesn't have money at all, Gerald. Okay. Come on. We have a 3.6 trillion budget proposed, which is financed 2.1 trillion by the ordinary shareable revenue. And so therefore, then the rest, the government has even made proposals to borrow 600 billion. So it
900 billion.
I think it's 600. It's not in the. I mean, you cannot say there is no money. It's just that now the priorities have changed. For example, you can see very serious attempts to consolidate the budget by ensuring that 49 billion worth of roads, 3,000 kilometers, have been hived off. They are not going to be implemented. You can see there's a reduction in terms of the new projects that are being proposed. So, yeah, there are very serious austerity measures. There is, of course, a need, and you can see it's in the papers today, how much money is going to be raked in from the privatization plan, about 110 billion for infrastructural development. So a lot of it, because you have to balance between, Gerald, between austerity measures, but also ensuring that there is enough growth going forward. And then new revenue-raising measures, all of that. It's not a walk in the park, really. But certainly, for sure, the last government left us on the edge of the economic precipice. That is not in doubt. And it's not that they left us because they are Azimio. No. I mean, it was Jubilee handshake, that mongrel. But way back in 2014, personally, from my experience in economic matters, development economics, I could tell that in 10 years there will be in a very serious problem, and that is the case. So it didn't matter who became president. Let me make that very clear. It didn't matter who became president. The country had already been run down by Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Okay. Any comments that you have as a Bichachi, any rebuttal on that?
I am tickled because my good friend here, Honorable Mwaura, has totally ignored the buying of 4 billion worth of cars. He's ignored how much has been spent in renovating offices, which is over 1.1 billion. And the reason he's ignoring that is because he seems stuck in the UDA campaign. And let me analogize this for the public so that they understand. You can get a girlfriend by saying her current boyfriend is bad. You say, every time she's in trouble, you hug her, you say, I will not be like that, I will be the best. I can't believe he didn't buy you flowers during Valentine, he's a horrible boyfriend. Then she dumps the boyfriend. And then she takes you on to be the boyfriend. Now, you cannot say that the reason there are no flowers is because you inherited a relationship where flowers were not bought. You cannot continue talking about the ex-boyfriend when you have the new girlfriend and you're the new boyfriend. And that's what UDA keeps doing. Let us assume Uhuru was the worst president, which we can't, because then that would be Moi. But let's look at Moi and Kibaki. If there was a dilapidated economy, it was the economy between Mwai Kibaki and Moi. Did you ever hear Mwai Kibaki say, we inherited a dilapidated economy? No. Did you hear Mwai Kibaki 6 months after getting into office saying he's not going to implement free primary education because of what happened in 1997, 98, 99, 2001? No. Why? Because when you're in office, the buck stops with you. It's at the end of the day, if today you Gerald Bitok left the tackle and you said Bichachi take over, I cannot tell people now the show can't go on because the microphone was dilapidated or the lights are not working. Why? Because the rules of succession dictate that you take over the liabilities and the profits of the previous regime. But also let us remind them that for 10 years, people like David B sang and said, our economy is going to collapse in 6 months. It's going to collapse. It never did. During COVID, our country actually exported more. Today, we sit in a country where the cost of living is going up. Now, you can either decide to choose to step up and actually tackle the problems, or continue to sing the song of Uhuru Kenyatta this, Uhuru Kenyatta that. But I can tell you for free, as a communication strategist, the Kenyans who are listening to this show are tired of that narrative. Just the same way as your wife or girlfriend will be tired if you keep blaming her ex for the problems she is facing today. The ex is gone. In fact, even the Bible says it is a shameful thing to live your life looking at the past. We are in right now and today. Give us solutions for today. And the solution, by the way, of reducing the cost of living has never been taxation.
Okay, so what is the solution? Because you were speaking for the previous government that never fixed the problem as well, the cost of living. You were here, I've watched you severally, defending the cost of living and defending the problems that were going
the cost of living.
Okay,
I defended the previous government, proudly so, but I never defended the cost of living.
All right, but the cost of living was still high. Defending that government of that day also included the misgivings and misdoings of that government.
So
what is the solution that you've learned now?
The price of unga in 2017 was brought down. True or false?
Subsidized, not brought down.
It was not subsidized whichever way. You're acting as if subsidies are a bad thing. Subsidies are a good thing.
It's my money you've taken from the left.
The United States, the richest country in the world, subsidizes food and agriculture. The United Kingdom subsidizes food and agriculture. The French subsidize food and agriculture. Right? The Indians subsidize food and agriculture. It is only here in Kenya that we want to make it seem like it is a spurious and unfair, evil, Hitler-like animal. No, I support subsidies. Let me be very clear. I support subsidies in food and agriculture. I support subsidies in energy production. Why? Because if you subsidize those things, a person who's able to eat is a person who's able to go work. A person who's able to afford electricity is a person who's able to innovate and innovate. A person who's highly taxed, by the way, is a person who, number one, is unable to run businesses and to start businesses because of the fear of the cost of doing business. A person who's unable to put food on the table is unable to go to work. A business that is unable to afford its electricity bill is a business that is unable to operate. So let's be clear, these things are not economic. You don't even need to finish first semester of economics to understand these things. The reason why Ethiopia is going to surpass us as an economic powerhouse in the region is why its electricity, its water, its agriculture is subsidized. Okay. Right? Its landing costs for Ethiopian Air is subsidized. Its cost of agriculture is subsidized. If we are going to be serious as a country, let's stop giving a dog a bad name just so we can kill it. Subsidies are what this country needs. And by the way, even as we speak about subsidies being bad, aren't we the same government that is subsidizing fertilizer, which I support? Aren't we giving out fertilizer? So that's the thing. So why are we saying subsidies are bad? That subsidy that the farmer is receiving, isn't it coming from your pocket, Gerald Bitok, when you pay taxes for the tackle? We need to be serious about these things. We like joking too much.
Your thoughts?
I think
what is the real route to food security?
You know, when I'm listening to the arguments that are being advanced here, I'm very surprised that somebody can leave their boyfriend because of flowers. That is very flimsy. In fact, leaving your boyfriend because of not buying flowers means that you are living in some utopia. You know, the issue about our economy is not just something that has happened overnight. And so it cannot be fixed overnight. And this Kenya Kwanza government is not a government that is, used to lying like the one that was there before, where when everything was going south, people were still looting the national treasury through inflated costs of infrastructural projects unbudgeted expenditure, and also a poor macroeconomic and overborrowing. And I think the Azimio people are still living in hallucinations, so they are still in power. They can shoot from the hip, but we are dealing with their mess. And it will take at least 3 years for us to be on a proper road to recovery.
So it's going to take a whole one time?
It will take a long time. And remember, even for Mwai Kibaki only achieved 7% growth on the 5th year. And then we went to elections and he actually almost lost the elections. He only won by 2.35% of the vote. So we cannot therefore say that President Kibaki was able to fix things within 6 months, within 120 days, 180 days. It was not possible. Okay. Remember very well, by the time we are talking here, these same Azimio people wanted to paralyze the government. They sponsored the court cases against things to do with the principal secretaries. You remember that very well. They only settled in December. And these are the engine of government. Then later on, the issues of even how to subsidize, how to meet the deficit of maize by saying that we cannot import GMO maize. Now I saw yesterday is when the AG is trying to reconsolidate all the petitions into one. That's another issue, another frustration. At the same time, when you look at our subsidies, and it's good to repeat this to Kenyans. If we were to go the subsidy way, that Uhuru Kenyatta was doing, it was actually subsidizing fuel to benefit private entities. Okay. It was gobbling up 16 billion a month. If you look at it, it is taking the whole of our development budget, which is about 300 billion. That is, to me, not a single inch of tarmac would have been made. And all of the other developments other than recurrent would have been paralyzed. Now, what the Kenya Kwanza administration is doing, Gerald, is to subsidize production, not consumption. That's the difference. We are not demonizing subsidies, but you subsidize production. And you can see the unga has reduced, I think, by about 50 shillings or so. We expect that to continue going down as time goes by, and using the market forces of supply and demand. You remember when we were subsidizing fuel, which is consumption, it was actually lower than what was being sold in Europe at about 3 euros there. So how could we, a country like ours, be subsidizing fuel at that point in time? But because then the cartelism, where the same importers of fuel are the same ones who had also captured government, then they were using that as an excuse. The same case when Kenyans complained about high electricity costs. Then the issue was independent power producers who are being paid a lot of money. And they were overcosting their production. You see, so all of these things have had a compound effect. And just to correct my brother here, Ethiopia is not rising because of all of those things. Ethiopia is a very huge economy. By itself, is 110 million people. It has 11 cities, for heaven's sake. It is because the Tigray war is coming to an end, so the country is more stable. Angola also is overtaking Kenya because the fuel prices have gone up. Otherwise, they had slumped during the time of COVID. So let's also not try to misalign issues here. The truth of the matter, if we go across Africa, Gerald, Africa is rising. It may not be reported as such because of the international media bias, but Africa is rising. So the question is it that other countries are going down? Certainly, we seem to have taken, we've taken, for granted our competitive edge in terms of us being a transit economy. And market diversification and what have you. But you can see there's a very clear plan. And by the way, let me disabuse the notion that the Kenya Kwanza has actually reneged on any of its promises. It has not. The plan is on course. Even yesterday during the prayers, the National Solemn Assembly, people are given the popular version of the plan. So there is no way that has changed. It's only what is being done is to rationalize what can be done year per year. And if you look at the plan, there is a plan. There are things that were supposed to be done within 6 months. That's 180 days. Within 18 months. Within 36 months, and then in the long term. It is very, very clear on what is supposed to be prioritized. And one of the issues that is very, very important is like the digital superhighway, where you saw cabinet when they met, I think 2 weeks ago, they approved the 100,000 kilometer of fiber connectivity. It's a huge thing, actually, that is going to make sure that we also actually move to the fourth industrial revolution, the digital economy and the creative economy. And you can see very, 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 very clearly, the shift to ensure that our young people have got new, economic livelihoods. But also, having said that, Gerald, we must remember that the whole issue of this maandamano, of these rallies, is to distract the government from actually, performing. When someone says that you never grow the economy by raising revenue, I think that's not true, not at all.
Taxes.
Yeah, but taxes raise revenue, isn't it? Yeah, you raise revenue through taxation. And so, Gerald, what happens is you have to balance, where you give incentives for production, but at the same time you tax, luxury. What we are. I was thinking about it when I was coming here. We most of what we import from abroad is, for example, alcohol and suits, those luxurious goods, and also the super rich who are not paying taxes. Remember. Because you and I cannot we cannot abate paying taxes. Because if you are to formalize any SME, there are so many regulations that will, of course, ensure for you to get a TCC, even if you have arrears, you have to pay, you have to pay this, license and what have you. So the common one, or the middling classes here, but the people at the top are the ones who employ tax evasion consultants, who then, therefore, would come to, say on national or radio, that you cannot grow economy through taxation. I think it's a balancing act, and that is the art of running the national treasury that I'm sure this administration is very keen on. Certainly, when David D said that the economy was going to collapse, he was right. Because that is a crisis that you are dealing with. The only thing why we kept on moving on is because we went on an unbridled journey of borrowing. You see, that is what made us to continuously do so. In fact, during COVID, I think it's good. So I hope I didn't come for a heckling show. During COVID,
give him a minute.
No, I cannot take it back. Please keep your peace.
Let him execute his point. I'll give you your time.
I don't think I've interfered with you talking.
Okay. Let's give Gerald.
Can we have some execute?
Okay, I'm giving him.
So I think going forward, the borrowing that was happening during COVID, where we were borrowing at some point even up to 20 billion shillings a day, that's what we were consuming. Okay. That is what has made us to go where we are. Let me tell you this, Gerald. We were persuaded by the Ukuri Yatani, the Minister for Finance for Uhuru Kenyatta, to increase our debt ceiling from 6 trillion to 9 trillion, with the understanding that this money will take us, in the medium term. But let me tell you, that has already been exhausted. Okay. In fact, last year, they went back to Parliament to ask for the borrowing of another trillion. That is to mean, within the handshake administration, honestly, and it's painful to say this, we borrowed over 5 trillion shillings. That is almost half of our GDP nominal. Okay? So when you turn around here and tell us that we need to resolve the issue within 6 months, you are lying to Kenyans.
All right. Okay. Bichachi, when you come back, Isaac Mwaura, I want to understand what is the government scorecard almost 6 months post swearing in. We want to know what is the scorecard. What are some of the things that have been done that touches Mwananchi? And we were having a conversation yesterday, and we were trying to analyze past governments. Within the first 100 days, Kibaki had given us free education. Within the first, I don't know how many months, Uhuru Kenyatta had started moving towards capital investments. It was the SGR, and everyone was excited about big venture investments in terms of infrastructure. Moi alikuja akasema anafuata nyayo, akatupea maziwa na akazunguka kidogo nchi. Kibaki when Kenyatta came in, he identified some of the problems that he thought was between the country. One of them was ignorance, poverty, and disease. And that's where he started from. When you come back, you'd want to know the status and the current and the scorecard of government 6 months post swearing in. Bichachi, You had something to say.
First, let me correct a misnomer. Kibaki came into power in 2002 December. By 2004, which was a year after he had started his presidency in 2003, our GDP had grown by 5.1% from a previous high of 2%, right? So Kibaki showed that there can be significant difference in a short period. Kibaki brought us free primary education within the first 6 months. So we are not sitting and discussing something that is without precedence. In fact, the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto brought us Linda Mama within a very short period. The presidency of the two brought us 100% transition between primary school and secondary school. There were very many things that both now President Ruto and then President Uhuru Kenyatta achieved within their first 6 months. So we are not sitting at a place where there is no historical precedence for what we are discussing here. Number two, we need to be very, very clear that a nation develops because there are priorities. Now, those priorities are clear to us. Why are they clear? When we talk about borrowing being the biggest thing that has gone wrong in this country, how then do we explain 560 billion already borrowed by this time as we sit here on the 15th day of February 2023? 560 billion borrowed by the UDA regime. So how do we explain that if borrowing is the devil? The government itself floated bonds and treasury bills that were for the first time undersubscribed. What is going on? Why the undersubscription? We've seen the valuation of Safaricom drop from what it was 6 months ago and drop over 50% in value, meaning our NSC has dropped nearly 40% in value within the last 6 months. How do we explain the dollar, which is trading at central bank rates of 125 shillings? Is that also about borrowing? How was the previous regime able to keep the dollar relatively stable? You know, these are the issues that we need to address. And you cannot keep saying that it is the previous person. And this is the issue that I'm having here. That at the end of the day, there are real issues that this government is doing that it needs to account for and give answer to the people of Kenya and offer us solutions. The taxes are not going up on bottles of scotch and wine only. The taxes have gone up. When you pay your electricity bill and you pay 1,000 shillings, you can see it tells you how much of that money is going to taxes, how much of that money is going into foreign exchange. These are the things that are affecting real Kenyans, and they have nothing to do with the previous regime. They have everything to do with the policies and decisions that are being made now. And when we talk about subsidy and subsidizing consumption versus production, etc., at the end of the day, what every Kenyan expects is that the standard and the quality of living should improve upon the entry of a new regime. That new regime, by the way, promised that it had a plan, that in 3 months, in 6 months, certain things will happen. And there was a very valid expectation, an expectation which I hold true to this day, that the people who are giving these promises, having sat in office the last 10 years, knew what they were talking about. The circumstances that we are talking about right now in the country, there's nothing new. COVID is in the past. The fight between Ukraine and Russia has been known to have happened for a long period, way before they were elected. This is a government that is not experiencing anything that is surprising them that was not already there. So when they have borrowed 560 billion, when they've used 4 billion to buy new cars, and they keep talking about empty coffers, when they keep talking about wait, give us time, the question I'm simply asking, fine, you raise more taxes. How is the price of mayunga going to go down? The truth is, if you're not going to answer those questions, this country is not going to heal. And whether you are in UDA, Jubilee, which is in war, or Azimio, when you go to the till, there is no till number for UDA and there's no team number for Azimio. We are paying the same price.
Okay, all right. So Lord Kiabi, good morning. Let's like that. Good morning, Betuel. Good morning, Sam Tani. Good morning, Gerald. I'm watching from Perth, Western Australia. Ruchef Kosgei. Good to see you, Sam Tani. Alikuwa mwalimu wangu wa Sunday school. Good to see you, Sam Tani. Pastor Sam Tani. It's a pleasure to see you. Salimi out to Australia. Asante sana. Ruchef Kosgei. Good morning to you. Let's like that. Jogoro represented Dave Mushai. Good morning. Andrew Yasali ndani kwa kama kawa 032 representing. Asante. Kipkoech Ruta bado utatumiwa bana, tuma nambari. Pauline Cherab, good morning Tackle Team. Good morning to you, Pauline. It's a pleasure to have you. Justus Rotumoy, good to see you. Happy New Year. Justus Rotumoy. Susan Dango, good morning. Lilian Nyambo, good morning. Lilian Nyambo, umepotea sana, good to see you. Dinosaurs Collins kijana, good morning sir. Uyarina, asante. Kiblanga Chamdani, niko ndani nikiwa Amboseli Lavington. Asante sana watu wa Amboseli Lavington. Takuja supu hapa baadaye. Sawa Kiambai, streaming live from Diani Ukunda, loud and clear. Asante. Sebastian County 035 tuned in. Sam Tanu, prayers are powerful and effective. Yesterday's and all the other prayers will effect change in our country. All right. Ronald Ngatich Kumtai, good morning. I hope you are doing well as well. Simon Sawe, Kenya Kwanza is a failed government blaming anyone or anything. Wilson Orenge, Nyamira County, well represented. Na hiyo credit come to higher. Asante. Simon Sawe watching from Eldoret. The cost of living has been rising since independence. That is Hilary Kiplimo. Irene Chemiron from Nakuru. Asante. Simon Sawe, we are Christians, but we are overdoing the prayer. We cannot pray for a better economy, yet on the other hand, we are doing nothing to improve it. We have to take action and corruption, and the country will be economically stable. Paul Gregory, you seem not to be in, Simon, you need not to be in Kenya. Again, you talk from a very negative angle. Kibaki revived the economy in more than 3 years. How do you want an economy destroyed in close to 7 years, reviewed in 3 months? You are not genuine in your sentiments, okay? I like how issues are dealt with here. Asante. I've just come from the village, Kapchepkor, to Nairobi, listening to the tackle. Will immediately go back. Asante sana, Timo. Simon, I'm in Kenya. Increasing taxes and letting go others with huge tax debts, revenge. How is that good in this economy? Kenya Kwanza promised free internet with free calls. Kibaki came to power when Moi left 500 billion debt. Rula came to power with an 11 trillion debt. I think the difference is like day and night. All right. Isaac Mwaura.
Yes.
The scorecard and the plan going forward.
Yeah, I think I really had put it on record, and I want to say it here, that I pitied, and I put that those are some of the statements that made me have problems with the Jubilee. That I pity whoever is going to be president in 2022. I said that. So just let's appreciate, guys. This is not anything just to hide under the carpet. President William Ruto has a very Herculean task to deliver this country. That one is for sure. And the way he's meticulous in terms of ensuring that he brings the leadership of the country together, despite the political persuasions. You know, he just come from spending 2 days with the governor's retreat. Remember, between 5th to 7th of January, he was with his cabinet and principal secretaries to make sure that the plan is properly understood by the people that are going to implement. So I honestly, and I really, really want to plead with Kenyans, problems do not wait for tomorrow. I don't think anyone here is saying that people don't have problems. You know, Gerald. It's just that we are saying it may not take as fast as it looks. And you know, Albert Einstein put it very clearly that the knowledge that you have when a problem is being created, I'm trying to paraphrase, is not the same that you require to resolve this very problem. So, for example, Uhuru and Raila thought that because their parents or their fathers are the ones who kind of, divided Kenya for a long time, but if they came together, they would resolve the issue. It didn't work out. They are now in their position in the streets. I saw them on a lorry. So it doesn't work that way because it has been compounded. It's been 60 years ever since. So things cannot be the same. So the way Kibaki took over power in 2002, and we agree so far because we cannot rate President Ruto as yet. President Kibaki is aspirational. He is the best president we've had so far of those that have retired. Means, and by the way, President Kibaki and President Ruto share a history because they both were vice presidents who became presidents. Of course, even Moi was. But Moi, the issue was that the then president died, so he took over. But President Ruto was actually a deputy president in opposition. Mm-hmm. If you go to South Sudan, you find SPLM in opposition and the one in government. So that's the scenario that we have witnessed. So they were able to sit down and understand the people's problems, and so they come into power with the understanding of what the people need. And that's why you can see we don't want to make mistakes as a Kenya Kwanza administration in going for what did not work out under the Uhuru administration. Certainly, for sure, Gerald, you could see the media, the mainstream media, trying to set the agenda. The work of the media is agenda set of what priorities that the Kenya Kwanza administration was going to do. So they were coming up with fake, scorecards where they were saying within 100 days we'll do this. Those ones were not what the Kenya Kwanza administration promised. For example, the president promised that he was going to appoint the Court of Appeal judges. Did he appoint or he did not appoint? That, by extension, should make access to justice more plausible. He also promised to give the judiciary fund. Did he not give it? He also promised to have the police manage their own funds. Did he not do it? So even at the phase of it, that is very, very, very important, because those are issues that were low-hanging fruits. They actually were, interfering with the course of, administration of, public service, fair administrative action, as is required in Article 47 of the Constitution. So give credit where it is due. President William Samoei Ruto has also gone ahead to ensure that many of the development projects that were being carried by the previous administration, if they were unviable, he has stopped them. And that for me is credit, because it means that he doesn't want to overburden the taxpayer with spurious projects that were not well conceived. So I think we've also seen him launch new projects like the Nairobi Railway City, which is going to consume 27 billion shillings. There is already groundbreaking in that regard. He is also trying to deal with the issue of Galana Kulalu, the 1 million acre, project and there is going to be a dam there, you see. A very, very good, initiative, going forward. And you can see also KPLC has actually called for public participation to review the tariffs. Joy Mdivo there is a chair. So to review the tariffs in terms of ensuring that we do not end up with a situation that has been currently obtaining. Let us not blame the new administration for the wrongs of the past administration. The new administration has not increased, for example, fuel levy. The new administration has not increased electricity levy. It has not. It has not. Let's not try to sell a false narrative here. So we are looking at, and it has to be a very interesting balancing act, so that when you affect this one, it also has an impact on this other one. When I was in the National Assembly Budget Committee, and of course being the Vice Chairman of the Senate Budget and Finance and Budget Committee, one of the things that we had to make sure we did in terms of taxation is to, if you remove this money from this product, for example, you zero rate on VAT, you must show where that money is going to be recovered from. And that is a key plank of the financing aspect of the plan. It's called budget neutrality, so that you release resources from one project to go to another. That is a very serious issue. Remember, this budget that we're operating on is not the budget of the Kenya Kwanza administration. It was drafted by the Azimio, and they knew what they wanted to do with it, because it was supposed to be them winning power. They didn't win power. The only intentions that we can see is supplementary one, which has come, that can only try to stem the tide. You know what I mean? Okay. It's just to stem the tide. But the real budget, if you can see in the budget policy statement that is going to be tabled in the National Assembly and the Senate this February, that can tell you the ceilings. and then of course the revenue raising measures and the various appropriations bill that is going to come to the National Assembly by April. That is when then you can start criticizing this government. Okay. But otherwise, currently we are trying to stem the tide of what had been proposed by the Azmi administration that actually has precipitated the borrowing that has to be done because certainly there was no tax collection.
Okay. Stephen Mayo, good morning. Good morning to you, Coach Bet. Good morning. GB watching you live from Upper Donoma Center. Stephen Mayo, morning from Meru County. Davis Kelman, what goes around comes around. Okay. Smile, Ismail, good morning from Lama. Good morning to George K. watching from Philadelphia. All right. Investment Business Opportunities Africa. Good morning. Please, Mr. Ruto is a joke. Blaming Raila Uhuru. Now they have a starting natural drought. Okay. Christopher Sang, good morning, JB. Fireworks, Leo. A good debate. Logged in from Kansas City. Good to see you. The guys from diaspora. Odweyo Kennedy, Gerald Bitok, Lower Kabete, following Kinley. Kwanza hapo kwa Raila and Uhuru on top of a lorry on the street. Okay. Amos Bichachi, view put in consideration the inflation factor. All right. That's the conversation going on the comment section. Evan Sulemkale watching from Austin, Texas. All right. Now, on the political front, there's a lot that is happening. First of all, on the headlines today is Uhuru Kenyatta, who is almost losing Jubilee as his allies are kicked out of the party. And the Star says Uhuru Kenyatta at a risk of losing Jubilee to, it says Uhuru on the verge of losing Jubilee to William Ruto. Okay. And also, there has been complaints as well from ODM on the involvement of some of its members, the MPs and the elected senators, and also governors with the presidency. And there's been an uproar there. Jalango last week suffered a serious fight back from the ODM fraternity regarding his association with the president and his visit to State House. Now, the big question has been, is the president killing opposition? Mark Bichachi.
I think that what we need to understand is that our country does not have a ruling party versus opposition structure. In parliament, we have minority and majority, and it is expected that parliament as a whole should oversight government. Now, in practice, in both the Uhuru regime and now the William Ruto regime, there has been phrase to get some form of handshake with the opposition. This particular handshake is with the foot soldiers, be they ODM foot soldiers or Jubilee foot soldiers. They are the ones that are having handshakes with the State House. And then what would happen is that William Ruto, as president, will have a free-for-all, basically, in parliament. So basically, whatever law he wants to pass and things like that will be able to pass, and they will not be able to tell him no, because parliament, by and large, as we know it today, is gone. I think it is a foregone conclusion that they will support the president in whatever he does. Now, does that kill opposition? Now, the legal definition of opposition, yes. The spirit of the people in terms of being able to express themselves, no. If you look at the people of Kenya and how open-minded they are and how they will continue to hold the government to account, that is not dead. And that is where, for me, our political class needs to be very, very aware. Okay. Life is not just about joining government. Life is about also what the people want and what they desire. At the end of the day, not 100% of the people will be against government, and not 100% of the people will be for government. And you need to make sure that you understand that the voice of the people is the voice of God. And the leaders will do themselves well to listen to the people and not just pursue political expediency. The other thing is this, is that the damage that is being done now is not just a damage to what would be opposition in parliament. It is damage to the institution of democracy in this country. If we remove the sanctity of political parties, if we remove the sanctity of what they're supposed to be and what role they play in our democratic space, then we will find ourselves with very dysfunctional political parties, and our democratic space will thereby be limited and reduced. So what needs to happen is we need to respect political parties. We need to allow political parties to operate, and those political parties need to stick to the mandate that they were given, or else go to seek a fresh mandate from the people. This is very critical. If today I am elected as a UDA member of parliament and I decide to go have a handshake with Raila Odinga, then the people who elected me have a right to ask me and say, we elected you to represent UDA. Why did you go and decide to have a handshake with Raila Odinga? It is not bad to have a handshake. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we need to be aware that political parties exist to encapsulate the hopes, dreams, aspirations, and expectations of our people. I would be very shocked if today any member of UDA decided to go and have encourage a handshake with Raila Odinga and see how long they would continue to exist in that party.
All right. What is the future then of Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta? ODM seems to be falling apart as well as Jubilee, which is looks like it's on a deathbed, as most of the legislators and former legislators have moved, and all the structures of Jubilee administration has moved to the government side. What is the future of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga?
Well, let me start with Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga's career is and I call it a Scar and Mufasa dynamic. This is from Lion King. The people around Raila Odinga feel that for real this time, he has spent his last bullet. They feel like he's too old to continue. They feel like it is time to inherit that leadership mantle. On the other side, Uhuru Kenyatta is a retired president. He has no more personal political ambition to push. He cannot run for president. He can run for governor, but I doubt he would want such a position. The truth is, bearing that reality, the two leaders are facing a very simple issue. There is a younger crowd that sees an opportunity to inherit the crown. Now, will they shepherd the process and create a process where they can inherit someone else or other people can inherit the crown? Or will they try and hold on and keep it for themselves and try and push a Raila presidential bid in 2027? Now, if they do that, then these political parties will fragment even more. But if they shepherd a process where their power and the leadership they hold is given to a new generation of leaders, they might just have a chance of keeping it together. Now, beyond that, that also means they have to do a second thing. For that position to be lucrative, they also need to show that they have the people with them. They have to show that being with you means that I can win an election in 2027 as MP, MCA, or governor, or whatever. And if they cannot show that the people are with them, then they're dead in the water. So they need to do two things. Number one, they need to shepherd a new caliber of leaders. Number two, they need to show that the people are with them. If they don't do that, then it is not just William Ruto biting at their heels and destroying the rank and file of their parties that will destroy them. They will also be destroyed from within. But is William Ruto destroying Jubilee? Is he destroying ODM? Oh, yes, he is. And he's doing a damn good job at it.
Isaac Mwaura, is it not? If you remember, just towards the run-up to the general elections of 2022, the president, who was now deputy president at that time, was very strongly opposed to the maneuvers of Uhuru Kenyatta to get into ODM and getting the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga into the fold of government, and also his stalwarts and the people who were following him into government and to support him. He was strictly opposed to the handshake. Is this another handshake in a form? Is he killing opposition?
Well, there is something that happened that was very interesting. The president went to Luo Nyanza and he was very well received. I was in Siasa myself, in Gango village during the homecoming of Eliud Owalo's, the Eliud Owalo's homecoming. And Gerald, the sentiments that time was very, very, very good and very positive. But I don't know what happened when he came from South Africa. He came with some other ideas and whatever it is that he came with. And so the fact that already the president had spent time with these ODM leaders, for sure, and you could tell even the ground was fairly receptive. He was able to engage with it very positively. Then the same leaders, led by Karoli Omondi, ending up at State House, and then they are being accused of betrayal. I think that is doublespeak. And you could even tell from the reports that they were saying that Raila was sending mixed signals. However, having said that, now it's very clear, it has never happened before, that especially MPs from Luo Nyanza openly defying Raila Odinga. It has never happened before. If you look at today's People Daily, and I'm sure the other dailies may have reported, Gideon Ochanda says he has no qualms about having visited State House. He is from Bondo. He is a member of parliament for Raila Odinga. And then Mark Nyamita, the other day I heard on radio, when people were protesting saying he was right that he went to State House. The same case, Ojenda has even scoffed at ODM and Philip Otele and things like those. People like those, sorry. And then also, you look at Shakil Shabir says, yes, I respect Raila as a father, but I was elected independently. I'm not an ODM member. For sure, he's independent, and he's doing his fourth term. So there is a shift. There is a very clear shift. Karoli Omondi used to be the private secretary of Raila Odinga when he was prime minister. So there is a clear shift, in that region, and people are tired, and they can clearly see, if Raila Odinga could not win the presidency with the support of Uhuru Kenyatta, that it is very awkward that a whole former president can now go back to political rallies. That tells you the powerlessness of that endeavor. And if I think it was not meant for Raila to be president, that is the case actually. So Raila Odinga should rest, and I wish he had actually just vacated, just like Besigye did in Uganda. You try several times. People may have said that you won at one point, but of course you were never president. And then you say, that's okay, I've done my bit. But at 78, trying to imagine that if we run as 83, there's already a generational coup. Look at even the people we are here, all of us here. We are in our 40s or maybe late 30s. Yes. So you can't have an 83-year-old, trying to imagine that he can take over power. So, and, just failing to relinquish. I look at the rhetoric also in the papers today, that because the cabinet is not ethnically properly constituted. Honestly, President William Ruto has really tried in constituting his government. It has the face of Kenya, who is not represented there. Of course, we don't have 44 cabinet slots, but you can clearly tell that a lot of balancing went into place, and you can even see new appointments of people, like even Jack Ranguma is a chairman of a board, like Omondi Anyanga, from Migori. These are people who are already appointed into positions. And so therefore, I honestly think ODM can never be the same again. As Evans Kidero put it, by 2027 you will not have ODM. That I can tell you. There will be splinter groups, one after the other, and most likely you'll even have county-based parties. Remember, Davis Ouma Ochieng won on his own party in Siaya, MDG. If he was UN survey, you can say Millennium Development Goals, but it's Movement for Democratic Growth or something like that. So if Raila can be challenged in his own backyard, it's very, 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 very telling. It's like imagine somebody in Eldoret winning on a different party other than UDA, Yet you can see almost everybody, they're actually not wrong, they all want a UDA ticket. So you have to have your own backyard strong and stable. And that is the case. I also see the governors of Wiper have rebelled. Wavinya Ndeti, Mutula Kilonzo, and even Malombe. They've all said they are going to work with government. So I saw a tactical retreat by Kalonzo saying that they should, those ones are allowed to work with government, but the MP should not. Of course they will. Over time they will, and they will defy. They will defy because William Ruto is a fair man. She has given Regina Ndambuki a chairmanship of a board. She has appointed, about 3 PSs from Ukambani, 2 ministers actually, when only 24% of the people voted for him. You can see clear example. And when it comes to Jubilee, Gerald, Jubilee is our former party. They chased us out. And let me tell you, I am extremely surprised. You and I share a faith. Do not revenge. Vengeance belongs to the Lord. Yeah. So, I couldn't ever countenance, or even in the wildest figment of imagination, that David Morathe wa Cairo, the former Gatanga MP, the arrogant, boisterous, belligerent individual who chased us out of Jubilee with such arrogance. I was on a TV show that I was watching the other day where he announced my expulsion. He is now being expelled by his own Jubilee party. I can't believe it. I've seen the letter from the registrar of political parties confirming the change of guard. And I remember how I received a similar letter from the same registrar of political parties, Anderito, confirming my expulsion from the party, or rather, the registration for Jubilee. I couldn't imagine that 2 years later it was going to happen to none other than David Morathe. And Raphael Tuju, who himself was a witness in my own case, spurious case that had been framed by Frank Bwendani, who also ended up running as an independent because he couldn't be given a Jubilee ticket. Whatever goes around comes around. I want to say that without a doubt. Because I think there was one of our listeners who said so. Because, now it is Morathe to go to court. I was in court, Gerald, 7 court cases. I lost 2, I won 5. Now Morathe and Kioni can go to court and dispute whatever that has happened to them. In fact, Kioni was on record as having told me, and Kioni and I were friends because we climbed Mount Sinai together sometimes back, that I was partyless. Now it is him who is partyless. He doesn't have a political party. Not that I am celebrating, but certainly I'm very amused at the turn of events, and that one I can say without a doubt, because Jubilee, the things I saw Caleb Amisi, the MP, from Tanzania, saying that Jubilee is dead. Can you imagine, Gerald, the accusations that were brought before me on 4th of February 2021 was that I had claimed that Jubilee Party was dead. And for sure, because of saying the truth, because of saying about the current state of the economy then, those are the things that were, the evidence that was adduced before the Kangaroo Jubilee Disciplinary Committee was that there were tweets. There were also blogs from a blog called Nairobi Wire. Now another one called Nairobi Leo. That is evidence. Something that you cannot even trace whether they have a headquarter or they have a residence like here, here the Taco. You couldn't tell who had even written them. That is the evidence that was adduced in court as to mean that then I was disloyal to the party. And now when you see, Kioni trying to suspend Kanini Kega, to suspend Sabina Chege and writing for them, to them letters, or Shoko's letters, as that somebody has petitioned the party. Yet Nelson Zuya, the chairman of Jubilee, and even Naomi Shaban and Akina Ajimi Angwenyi, we were all with them in Nakuru for the prayers on Sunday. Who is supporting them? I think the only woman I saw who is supporting them is the Garissa women, and she's thinking maybe she can replace Sabina Chege. But the truth of the matter is, Jubilee has applied to be recognized as a parliamentary political party, and when it is recognized, they will also be given their fair slot in the leadership of the minority side, and also they'll get their fair share of the political party's monies. In fact, they are even planning to have. They will not go to the new headquarters in Kileleshwa now that the former offices were auctioned. They were auctioned. So they will have and they cannot give their subscription money, the 10,000 that they pay and the 50,000 that governors pay to Kioni and Morathe and Gishohi and Kagwe and those kind of people. They have a new leadership.
Right. What's the future of Uhuru Kenyatta?
Uhuru Kenyatta, I think now he will be ignored. And in fact, he has been ignored. Let me tell you why. When you saw 10 former MPs, the ones we were with in the last parliament, led by Jude Jomo, Maoka Maori of all the people, and Kabinga Wadayo, and Ruth Mwaneki and Masika Kuya coming out strongly and saying they endorse the decision of the NEC. I mean, the horse has already left the stable. Uhuru Kenyatta will be left with who? With Morathe and Kioni. And to what extent would we be holding on to a political party? Because the retirement benefits for the president say 6 months, you should relinquish all your positions. So me, I would advise Uhuru Kenyatta he cannot be seen to be causing chaos in his own country when he's supposed to be a mediator in Ethiopia and also in DRC. Now I can see he's the one who is leading the election observation group for the Nigerian elections. Right. It is a contradiction. It's a smack in the face. And he'll be left in... And to what extent? How is he profiting Raila Odinga? To what issues? Is it because Babu Owino said that it was a long con? I mean, Uhuru Kenyatta punished us. He treated us very badly. And for the record, let me tell you, I had 7 court cases. I appeared over 30 times in court. There was a travel ban against me. DCI had been given a case to frame against me. Even SSU, I was a candidate for it. This is Isaac Mwaura alone. If Gerald Bitok, people had to open up on the tribulations they went through in the hands of Uhuru Kenyatta, I mean, it would be like an encyclopedia of what we had to go through to secure the victory and the support of this administration. So nobody should ever, in the wildest imagination, to imagine that Uhuru Kenyatta was supporting William Ruto behind us. But William Ruto was magnanimous. Okay. All right. He actually gave Uhuru Kenyatta the job. But now that he's already now trying to cause havoc down here, because he still is moving up in lorries, it actually clearly shows that BBI was a clear scheme for Uhuru Kenyatta to succeed himself the same way Medvedev and Putin were doing in Russia.
Thank you. All right, finally, as we end up the conversation this morning, I want to remind you again that this has been the Tackle Siasa Wednesday edition of the 15th of February 2023. And we had Honorable Isaac Mwaura and Mark Bichachi. Now, finally, there's been the issues of insecurity in the Rift. And the president has announced, Kindiki announced a dusk to dawn curfew, while the president officially announced a joint operation of the military and the police to disarm the people. Okay, to disarm illegal or to take back illegal arms in those regions. Will this finally work? Bichachi, your comment. Will this finally work?
Gerald, you know that I have done some charity work that side of the country. Okay. And do they need extra security? Yes, they do. Do they need to be kept safe from banditry? Yes, they do. But is it the magic bullet? No. There are a number of issues that need to be addressed, and I'll make them very simple. Number one, we need to address the culture that is there. The culture of rustling, the culture of revenge cattle rustling, the culture of valuing cattle beyond human life. Those are the cultural issues that need to change. There needs to be a re-education of the people. Number two, there needs to be an investment of government. And this has been a failure of every Kenyan government, right from Jomo Kenyatta to Daniel Moi to Mwai Kibaki to Uhuru Kenyatta, and now William Ruto. I hope he will do different. There needs to be investment in schools, investment in hospitals, investments in infrastructure in that side of town. They have told me, and this I quote directly, that they realized themselves, every place where there is tarmac and there is a hospital, the odds of having cattle rustling has reduced. So as a country, we need to invest serious resources in that area to make that place livable. You can imagine, I remember one person asked me to give them some cash, and I gave them a 500 bob note, and they did not know what it was. Can you say nini? Why? Because resources have not gotten down there. Number 4, education and opportunities to do business. These guys live in an arid area. The young men either drink or they walk their cattle around. There is no other economic activity there. We need to create economic opportunities for the people living not only in Baringo and Pokot and Turkana, not only there, but the people living in ASAL areas. We need to give them alternative businesses, whether that means creating proper market for their sheep and goats so that now those sheep and goats can legally come to Nakuru and Nairobi and other places. That is one way, but we have to make sure there's economic activity, there's infrastructural stability for them. That is the long-term solution. Otherwise, our military and our police that are deploying there will have to live there permanently.
Isaac Mwaura. The biggest question has been, why is it that we are deploying police officers fresh or security officers fresh from training? I mean, that has been the norm. We see the people who are being killed by bandits are young boys. I saw a boy who's 21 years old. Is it 22 years old? They've been shot down and killed in that area.
Yeah, 27 years.
Yes, 27. So is this going to be a solution, finally?
It's usually the fact that people don't want to stay in those hardship areas. So the people who then get trained and then they are recruited, they are sent there. Like my former bodyguard was in Eldas. Young man of 24 years, the regular police. So it is me now who had to, bring him back to Nairobi, and then eventually he had worked for me for 5 years. I recommended him, and now he works for the DCI. So that's what happens. You have to be, kind of trained there. Of course, they have a very limited experience, and I think George Naptembea spoke very well. I think I liked his boldness. I see some people condemning him, but people don't like the truth. He spoke what others would not tell the president, and it's soon after that you have seen action has been taken. But I'm thinking, Gerald, there's a huge economy. There's a huge economy around cattle rustling, and it could be actually the one supplying meat to Nairobi and such other slaughterhouses here. Because I remember some butchery in Thika, I don't want to mention it, but when I inquired, and I was fairly young, and then I heard that the owner usually goes to steal cattle from the Maasai, around. So it's like huge business. And of course, what you need to steal cattle is just a gun, isn't it? You just shoot in the air and you head off the cattle and all of that. Over 100 lives have been lost, and it is a big shame that at this time and age that is the case. But certainly, if you do the mathematics of this economy, the cattle rustling banditry, you can see it's a lot of money, because if you are even to value one cattle as 50,000, assuming, and you have 100, that's how much? 5 million. So this is 5 million, moving around like that. You just need a gun of 20,000, 30,000, and or 2 or 3 of them, and you have them. So that's the kind of economy we are looking at. And also, remember, in these communities, cattle is wealth. So it's a status symbol. So we have also to look at the principles around this traditional practice. But also, we've seen allegations, and these are allegations, that there are certain leaders that are the ones who are funding this. They are the real cattle rustlers. In fact, we even heard that one of them may have actually airlifted some of the bandits on a chopper. I don't know how true that is, but it clearly tells you that it's deeper than we thought. But now let's hope that the KDF operation will work. The 3-day moratorium for surrender of arms will work, but also devolution must work. Devolution must work because much as there is a largesse from the national government, what some of these people are doing, of course, money may not be enough, but the same, ailments that are bedeviled our budgeting process and economic master plan at the national level have now cascaded to at the devolved unit, where there is a lot of recurrent expenditure against development. But certainly, like when I moved to Luo Nyanza, I can see a lot of development that was not there before 2010 constitution. So there is a way in which devolution can work well. But what we are seeing is people siphoning out monies and reinvesting in high marginal areas, just like the colonialists, which is what I call counter-devolution. So you have to be patriotic enough to your county, and we must start focusing on our counties as new areas of economic growth, and robustly defend that, so that people can see themselves getting opportunities, not just in Nairobi, in the big metropole,
but also down in the villages.
So I think that is a long-term issue. But I wish Kithure Kindiki well, my former colleague in the Senate, and I hope that our administration will be able to stem the tide and ensure that really cattle rustling is not, an ornamental, it's not one of the narratives that one of the issues that we need to deal with in the 21st century. All
right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. 21 minutes past 9 a.m. Collins Kibe, the issue of banditry is very serious. Most of these players are underdeveloped and marginalized for a very long time, from the time of independence. The best way is to bring development using KDF, build schools, sort out water problems by constructing dams, boreholes, and teach agriculture besides rearing cattle. Another thing is to deal with leaders who are supporting banditry. Peace is so paramount. So sad, many people have lost their lives through banditry. Now, this is Collins Kibet from Elgeyo Marakwet. Thuku Moida Thuku. Morning, sir. Please ask Mwaura what's this government plan of the cattle rustling business, which is a horror. Salimia Mark Bichachi, right? I think he has already spoken on that. Yenyewe siasa ya Kenya ni kama chameleon. The other day, the likes of Sabina Chege, Adan Kenan, Kanini Kega were on the other side, now praising the current regime. So funny. Kenyan politics and misbehavior will always continue. Okay. Looking in at the gentleman, ladies and gentlemen on YouTube, Abraham Biwot, good morning. Change TV. Change Point TV, welcome back. Tackle, no more sabbaticals. I agree with you, no more sabbaticals. We are back bigger and better. Abraham Biwot Kimboy, the tackle is fire, logged in from Valley of Elgeyo Marakwet County. All right. To every tackler, has been a pleasure having you. It's always a pleasure having you. This has been the Tackle Siasa Wednesday edition of the 15th of February 2023. We've been having Mheshimiwa Isaac Mwaura, also Mark Bichachi. It's been a pleasure having you in this conversation, and thank you also for always making sure that you can tune in. Without you, the tackle could never be. For those who have been lucky with the airtime today, the first 10 who joined the tackle, please send in your numbers so that we can have your airtime sorted. Oris Sanecha from Switzerland. Good to see you, Oris. Nature, or they from Switzerland. Until tomorrow on Diaspora Edition, please make sure, if you're in diaspora, if you're Kenyan in diaspora, please make sure that you can join the conversation tomorrow on Diaspora Edition, led by Joel Arama, Kenya Graphics, Alfred Sergeant, Kimboy, Kimugo, the guys from Canada, from the USA. Please make sure that you can tune in tomorrow and have a conversation with them on the Diaspora Edition. Until then, I wish you a very good day. Take care and bye-bye.